Scout, the airport's best sniffer. The hum of the early morning airport was a familiar symphony to Officer Miller, a counterpoint to the soft padding of Scout's paws beside him. For years of perfect, unerring alerts, a record etched in the annals of the K-9 unit. Miller watched Scout, a sleek black Labrador, nose twitching, eyes keen, systematically sweeping the deserted corridors. Each pass was a testament to the countless hours they'd poured into training. He remembered the sweltering Florida sun, the endless drills, the tiny, almost imperceptible shifts in Scout's demeanor as he learned to differentiate a harmless scent from a potential threat. Scout, even as a pup, had possessed an uncanny focus, a drive that set him apart. Others might have faltered under the pressure, but Scout had thrived, graduating top of his class. "Good boy, Scout," Miller murmured, his voice a low rumble. The dog's tail gave a single, appreciative thump against his leg. They were a unit, a seamless extension of each other. Their morning ritual began at the far end of Concourse B, working their way methodically towards the main terminal. Scout's gait was fluid, a graceful dance of duty. He paused at a row of empty check-in desks, sniffing methodically, then moved on, his body language communicating a clear all clear. Miller, ever observant, tracked his partner's every nuance. No hesitation, no subtle lean, no widening of the nostrils. All indicators he'd learned to read like a second language. This was the quiet vigilance that kept the airport safe, the silent promise of security in the pre-dawn hours. They approached Gate 14, a gate typically buzzing with activity, but now dormant, awaiting its first flight in hours. Scout, without breaking stride, suddenly sat. Not a hesitant sit, but a firm, decisive settling, his gaze fixed on a spot behind the service podium. Peculiar stop at Gate 14. The morning rush at Portland International was in full swing, a symphony of rolling luggage and muffled announcements. Officer Miller and Scout, a sleek black Labrador with an air of quiet purpose, navigated the throngs with practiced ease. Miller's gaze swept across faces, a habit honed by years of observation, while Scout's nose, a finely tuned instrument, worked the currents of scent. They moved methodically, a living current against the flow, clearing gates 8, 10, then 12, each a blur of impatient travelers and hurried goodbyes. As they approached the quieter stretch of concourse leading to Gate 14, Scout, usually a relentless tracker, suddenly hesitated. His ears twitched, then flattened slightly. He took another step, then another before stopping dead. His tail, which had been a low, steady wag, became perfectly still. His dark eyes fixed on something unseen to Miller, his body tensing with an undeniable focus. "What is it, buddy?" Miller murmured, his hand resting lightly on Scout's harness. He scanned the immediate area. Gate 14 was deserted, its glass doors reflecting the empty jet bridge. No passengers lingered, no ground crew bustled. A quick glance at the digital flight board confirmed Miller's confusion. Gate 14, next departure. 11:30 a.m. It was only 9:15. There was nothing here, yet Scout remained locked onto some invisible target, his entire posture screaming and alert. Miller felt a prickle of unease. This wasn't a false alarm. This was something else entirely. The unyielding alert. The bright morning sun, filtered through the vast windows of the terminal, glinted off the polished floor as Officer Miller led Scout along the concourse. Their rhythmic pace, a familiar comfort, suddenly fractured. Scout, usually so eager for the next gate, stopped dead. His tawny fur bristled almost imperceptibly as he sank to the floor, a perfect, unyielding sit. His tail gave a few gentle thumps against the linoleum, a silent declaration of a find. His gaze locked on Gate 14. "All right, buddy, let's go," Miller murmured, a slight tug on the leash guiding him forward. "Gate 16, remember?" He produced a small, dried liver treat, its scent usually irresistible. Scout's ears twitched, acknowledging the offer, but his focus remained resolute on the gate ahead. His body, a sturdy anchor, refused to budge. Miller knelt, his voice softer now, a coaxing whisper. "Come on, Scout. Good boy. Let's go." He offered the treat again, closer to Scout's nose. The Labrador's dark eyes, however, held an unwavering intensity, a silent testament to his conviction. He glanced back at Miller for a fleeting second, a flicker of understanding, before his gaze snapped back to Gate 14. The subtle hum of the terminal, the distant announcements, all faded into the background for Miller as a growing unease settled in his gut. This wasn't a training exercise, this was Scout. And Scout never made a mistake. Calling in the fault. The worn plastic of his radio felt surprisingly slick in Officer Miller's hand. He stared at Scout, who remained a steadfast sentinel at Gate 14, nose occasionally twitching, ears perked. The Labrador's gaze, usually so eager to please, was now resolute, almost defiant. Miller pressed the transmit button, a small, internal sigh escaping him. This was going to sound ridiculous. "Jenkins, this is Miller. We have an anomaly." The word felt inadequate. A crackle. Then Jenkins' gruff voice filled his ear. "Anomaly, Miller? Elaborate." Scout stopped at Gate 14. "Won't move on to 16. Just sitting here. No active flight. Nothing in the immediate vicinity to indicate a clear alert. He's been like this for 5 minutes. I've tried to redirect him." Miller paused, rubbing the back of his neck. "I think it might be a training fault, sir." A silence stretched, punctuated only by the distant hum of the terminal. Miller could practically hear Jenkins raising a skeptical eyebrow. Scout, meanwhile, sat motionless, a statue of canine conviction. For years of flawless service, not a single false positive, not one moment of hesitation. Yet here he was immovable at an empty gate. A familiar pang of doubt, sharp and unwelcome, pricked at Miller. Was he misreading his partner? Or had the best dog on the unit finally, inexplicably, faltered? Buster takes over. "Miller, report to Gate 14. Repeat, Gate 14. And bring that stubborn Labrador with you." Supervisor Jenkins's voice crackled through the radio, devoid of humor. "Buster and his handler are en route to finish Gate 16. We can't have the whole morning sweep derailed by one dog's hunch." Miller sighed, the frustration a bitter taste in his mouth. "Understood, Supervisor." Miller out. He glanced down at Scout, who remained steadfast, nose still pointed resolutely at the base of the unused service podium. The golden dog's tail gave a single hopeful thump against the cool tile. "Come on, pal. Looks like our shift's over for this particular mission." A few minutes later, the rapid patter of paws and the jingling of tags announced Buster's arrival. The younger German shepherd, all lean muscle and boundless energy, bounded into view, his handler struggling to keep pace. Buster's ears were perked, his intelligent eyes scanning the terminal with an eagerness that felt almost aggressive to Miller's frayed nerves. He gave a quick, sharp bark, a clear signal of readiness. "Morning, Miller." Buster's handler nodded, a sympathetic glint in her eyes. "Jenkins wants him on Gate 16 stat." Miller gave Scout a gentle tug on his leash, the Labrador finally rising, albeit reluctantly. As they turned to walk away from Gate 14, Miller felt the weight of unspoken doubt from the arriving team. He glanced back once more at the empty space Scout had insisted on inspecting, a strange ache in his chest, the distinct sense of an opportunity missed, or perhaps a warning ignored, settled heavily on him as they retreated down the concourse. Trusting the gut. The disquieting thrum of the idling jet outside Gate 14 seemed to amplify Miller's internal debate. Scout, however, remained resolute, his gaze fixed on the service podium, a low, persistent whine rumbling in his chest. For years, not a single false alert. That record wasn't built on whims. This wasn't a whim. Miller's hand found the familiar fur of Scout's head, the coarse texture a grounding presence. He looked at the empty gate, then back at Scout's unwavering intensity. "All right, buddy, show me what you've got," Miller murmured, his voice a low rumble against the distant hum of the terminal. He knew this was against protocol, against direct orders, But the knot of unease in his gut tightened with every second he considered walking away. He trusted Scout more than he trusted any manual. Scout's tail gave a single, decisive thump against the linoleum. He rose, a picture of purpose, and began a slow, deliberate approach towards the curved service podium. Miller followed, his boot falls echoing softly in the deserted waiting area. The air grew colder as they neared the podium, a subtle shift that prickled Miller's skin. Scout stopped directly behind the counter, his nose twitching, a low growl now a distinct vibration in the quiet space. His attention was focused on a dark, almost invisible recess, a shadowed space beneath the counter's edge, the hidden bag. Miller's skepticism clung to him like the humid morning air, but he followed Scout's determined lead. The Labrador, nose low, weaved between the stanchions and past the rows of empty seats at Gate 14. He rounded the bulky, curved service podium, the very spot where he'd first sat rigid. Miller stepped behind it, a tight space cluttered with discarded coffee cups and stray boarding passes. Scout, however, wasn't interested in the usual detritus. His black nose burrowed deep, pushing against the wall, his tail giving a short, emphatic wag, a silent declaration of success. Miller knelt, peering into the shadows. Tucked between the podium's base and a forgotten waste bin was a small, dark messenger bag. It was nondescript, made of faded canvas, its strap folded neatly beneath it. He reached a gloved hand out, his fingers brushing the cool fabric. The bag felt surprisingly lightweight. No exotic wires, no suspicious powder, just a mundane piece of luggage, easily overlooked by human eyes. Yet, here it was, a testament to Scout's unwavering focus, a small, quiet victory against the odds. The doubt about his partner, about the validity of this entire detour, began to recede, replaced by a prickle of unease about the bag itself. A misrouted mystery. Officer Miller knelt, his gloved fingers brushing against the rough fabric of the unclaimed bag wedged behind the service podium. The plastic tag, a vibrant splash of orange against the dark canvas, finally came into view. He squinted, the fluorescent airport lights reflecting off its surface. Flight 347, Gate 16. A knot tightened in his stomach. Gate 16. That was the gate he was supposed to be inspecting, the one Scout had stubbornly refused to approach. He pulled out his radio, the cool metal of familiar weight in his palm. Control, Miller here. I've got a bag at Gate 14. Tagged for Flight 347. Departed Gate 16. 1 hour ago. The words felt strange, a puzzle piece slotting into place with an almost audible click. The implication hung in the air, thick and undeniable. A long silence stretched before the crackle of static. Copy that, Miller. Any security concerns? Miller ran a hand over the bag, feeling the solidity beneath. No unusual smells, no suspicious bulges. Just a lost piece of luggage. Negative control. Looks like a misroute. It seems Scout was right. The admission felt a little like swallowing sand, but the truth was undeniable. Scout hadn't made a mistake. He had, with an intuition that defied explanation, detected an item from a different gate, an hour after its flight had departed. Miller felt a slow burn of admiration replace his earlier doubt. His partner wasn't faulty. He was exceptional. The reclassified save. The fluorescent hum of the precinct office provided a stark contrast to the quiet intensity of Officer Miller's focus. His fingers flew across the keyboard, meticulously detailing Scout's unusual deviation, the precise location behind the service podium, and the discovery of the misrouted bag. He avoided the standard terminology for anomalies, instead emphasizing Scout's unwavering resolve at Gate 14, the unusual posture, the soft whine that had preceded his sit. He printed the report, the scent of fresh ink filling the small cubicle. Clutching the crisp pages, Miller walked with purpose to Supervisor Jenkins's office. The door was ajar, revealing Jenkins hunched over a stack of paperwork. "Supervisor," Miller began, his voice firm, "I need to discuss the incident report for this morning." Jenkins looked up, his brow furrowed. "The training anomaly with Scout? Already reviewed it, Miller. Good job documenting the deviation. With respect, Supervisor, Miller pressed, placing the report on Jenkins's desk. It wasn't a training anomaly. Scout found something. He located a bag that had been abandoned. A bag containing a prohibited item that would have bypassed security had it been on its intended flight. He tapped the section outlining the bag's contents. This was a save. A reclassification is warranted. Jenkins picked up the report, his gaze scanning the carefully articulated narrative. The silence stretched, punctuated only by the distant squawk of a radio. Finally, Jenkins exhaled slowly. You make a compelling case, Miller. Scout's intuition. It's truly something else. Reclassified it is. And tell that four-legged legend he's earned himself an extra-large steak tonight.